Thank you. Good morning. My name is Gary Scudder. I'm a professor here in the core, ably assisted by my excellent friend, Dr. Mike Kelly, excellent friend and traveling companion, Dr. Mike Kelly. First, I have to apologize. I'm really dressed down today, but there is actually a reason for this. This is sort of thematic because I want to talk about foreign travel today. Now that I've run several travel courses, I want to do several core talks about travel. Most of them will be much more specifics about planning. Today is going to be more philosophical. So I just want to say a few things almost off the cuff about what one should think about when you're planning a travel course. So several things jump to mind. One, if you're thinking at all about running a travel course, you should just do it. Do not talk yourself out of it. If you have traveled, if you've studied abroad, if you've just gone abroad, you know how transformative it is. And the sooner we get the students out there, the better off. This is important to me because I never even had a passport till I was 42 because I'm a dumb kid from Indiana, and I've always felt that. And I just think it's wonderful to get them out there. And the thing is, to college, while it'll probably not be as helpful as it should be, I actually want you to go on travel abroad. They especially like second year travel experiences, especially those sort of course embedded 1 week trips, because they view them as wonderful feeder opportunities. They're going to give the students a taste of a much bigger world, and it's going to make them much more likely to take off their junior year for an entire semester. So the college actually wants you to do this. So first off, definitely do this. Secondly, how does one conceive of a travel course? One of the things I was just talking to my excellent friend Steve Waymeyer when we were in Africa, and I said one of my more classically idiotic Lawrence of Arabia comments, and that is that, once you conceive something, it's already a reality. And I think there's actually a lot of truth to that. I wasn't just being foolish. And one of the big things about the travel course is how do you conceive it? Because if you just think about going overseas, it becomes debilitating. It's too huge. But if you conceive it as having a purpose, and this is the cleanest way I can think about it. Think of a 1 week travel course embedded in a bigger course. Think of it as almost a course assignment. I mean, when you think about assignments you give for students, why do you give them? Yes, partially it is to punish the students. Of course it is. But more importantly, every single thing we do in class, including the assignments themselves, are designed to enhance the classroom experience. So think of a 1 week trip someplace just like some kind of assignment that you would bring into the class specifically to test the students and to broaden their understanding of the universe and to use course content. So if you think of it that way, then I think it makes more sense. Which brings me to the next point, and that is, where would you go? Okay, one certainly should be someplace you have some experience. Does it mean you have to have lived there for 6 years of your life? No. It may be someplace you just studied. It may be someplace you spent a couple weeks. Something that you have some knowledge of that you can base on. But you do not have to be an expert or speak the language. Otherwise, as Americans, we'd never leave the country. But the other thing about it, think about it again, going back to this notion of this as a course assignment. What is it about that country that could specifically serve the needs of your course? For instance, Mike and I are taking students to Spain and Portugal next fall as part of an aesthetic expression class. Well, what could be a better city to visit than Madrid when you have three of the world's great museums within a block of each other in downtown? It perfectly feeds aesthetic expression. Or Steve Waymeyer and I took students to Zanzibar as part of the sacred and the secular, because what is a better opportunity to see how the two worlds and different religions come together than Zanzibar? Or Sandy Brandenburg and I are taking students to India next spring as part of a Heroines and Heroes, because what is a greater hero than Rama? There is nobody. So think of it that way. What's your experience, but what will also feed the class? Also, do not be afraid of the exotic. Think about it. You have 1 week to change their lives. And it's going to be much more transformative if you take them to Jordan. I took 9 students to Jordan last year, and they were utterly transformed. Or the students we took to Zanzibar, the ones we took to India. I mean, any trip is going to change them. But if you're talking about 1 week, the difference between going to France and going to India is profound. And so don't be afraid of the exotic. And actually the students tend to do very well for that. And oddly, they're much less likely to cause trouble. There is always a danger of the overly familiar. I'm much less worried about students in the Middle East and Africa than I am in Spain. I think they're not going to run off in Africa in the middle of the night. So it's actually, don't be afraid of a more exotic location. Start early. I'll talk more about this later on in more specific discussions of travel. But you sign up about halfway through the fall semester for a spring trip, or halfway through the spring semester for a fall trip, and then suddenly months and months go by. And you'll see them eventually in the first day of class. Don't wait. Email them with some regularity. Find out their parents' address. Start to email them as well. One of the first things I do is buy the students a travel guide. And I send it home with them right away so that they can begin to look at it. Their parents can begin to look at it. So it may be 5 or 6 months before we take off, but get them thinking about it early. It keeps them locked in. Beyond that, tie into the experience of your colleagues. You have an increasing number of folks, especially here in the Corps, that have travel experience. We're always happy to help. I know I'm always happy to help. So anyway, those are a few thoughts just off the top of my head. Again, I'll be filming some more specific ones later. And thank you very much.